So, Mark, sum it up. In terms of culture, what do you feel? What do you feel, man?
Well, after looking at that cringeworthy video of them all in that cabinet, we're in massive trouble here, mate, aren't we? Let's face it, they don't give a damn about our culture. Never have done, never will do. It's all money, money, money. It's just funny because I thought the socialists and all that would have hated capitalism.
Is it money, 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 or sunny, sunny, sunny?
I don't know, but yeah. No, but the thing is, they're all still in denial. Half the Conservatives are still in denial. They will not admit what went wrong. Some of them will come out and say, look, we didn't do what we were meant to do. We weren't Conservative. All right, fair enough. But some of them are still literally in denial. And the same with Labour. You had Jess Phillips.
I wish there was in
people
denial.
protesting.
And then another dozen in the Mersey.
Yeah, you had extremist Muslims turning up at people's elections and shouting them down, like Jess Phillips.
Yeah. I felt
she's still in denial. She'll still go, we'll stick up for all these people. Honest to God, they're thick as mints. So that'll be their downfall.
I love that expression, thick as mints.
Thick as mints, but think about this. Right, so you see a majority of those reform people who came second didn't do anything. Paper candidates, a lot of them. One even won. One even won.
That's it. He was the sixth. One of them
even won. So if
he was the fifth.
If Labour think they're going to get an easy ride, you've got another thing coming.
Well, Farage is in now. He's like the Ebola virus of assemblies, isn't he?
And the same for the cons as well, John, because I think if they continue doing what it looks like they're going to do and let's keep to the centre and let's stay away from reform, good. That's going to backfire massively.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
I liken Farage to myself as a wasp. Because what we do is I go into Warrington Borough Council and I buzz around and I'm a nuisance. That's exactly what they do. They treat you as a wasp. And that's what Farage will do. But the problem is with Farage, he's not going to be able to have the speaking time that he had in the European Parliament. That's the only problem.
That's because he was part of a group and they had
quite not anymore. You won't be able to get that in
We'll come on to that in a moment because there is something to be said about what's going on in Europe, which I think Stats is going to be talking about.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that the writing's on the wall where we're going here because Blair's mates are back now. You've got Alan Milburn in and all these other people, and he's appointing people like Valance, whatever his name was.
Wrong.
The one from all the lockdowns.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So you're going to get people like that. Brilliant. Who weren't even elected.
Didn't he give him a peerage?
He's literally the science minister or whatever it is.
But didn't he give him a peerage? I think he elevated
but now he's got a...
No, you'd have to give him a peerage to get him in there because you've got to be an MP to be a minister. They did it with Cameron, didn't they? They made him a law to get him into the cabinet. You've got to be an MP to be a minister. And if you're not, then they'll give you a peerage.
It's slightly worrying because the fake cons have stuffed the Lords full of useless idiots and now it's Labour's turn, isn't it? So
I can't wait to get back down there to get the gossip on what's going on because it's really, really interesting. Really, really interesting. And it looks as if, and before we go on to what's going on in Europe, it looks as if Labour are actually going to have to back up that speech that Keir Starmer gave about country before party.
Yet he didn't even have our flag.
Yes.
Honestly, we're going to be able to pick holes in everything they do because they're absolute garbage.
Oh, they're under such scrutiny now. It's not funny.
Yeah. So apparently they're not going to be raising an eye.
Go ahead, Cutter.
Do you think somebody said something to them about that? Because I was watching them outside 10 Downing Street the other day there, and the full railing was festooned with the flag of St George. So I better have been picked up on that. Or was that something to do with the football? Or I don't know.
Well, they did afterwards. Yeah, I saw that because the football was on. Gaz, go ahead, Gaz. Gaz.
Yeah. I just want to make a quick point because I know one of our biggest fans is Mr. Noel Matthews. Hello, Noel. And
hey, Noel, how you doing? You know who this
Noel
is.
Matthews, and Noel is my conduit straight to Nigel. So, Nigel, get your ass in gear and get me an invite to Parliament, please. Jonathan just reminded me then saying he's going out to Parliament soon. So, Nigel, get me an invite to Parliament, please. Thank you.
Can I have one too?
Yeah.
I've got to correct myself from earlier. I said the average votes per seat for reform was 365,000. No, it wasn't. It was 821,000. Sorry, the 365,000 votes was what they were off being the leader of the opposition.
Wow.
This is not the win they think this is for Labour.
No, it isn't.
They think they've got a mandate, for like 20% of the country.
It's a
Get
house
real, they'll be gone.
It's a house of cards. All right, let's move on to Europe. I was very saddened to hear that Le Pen was put into third place. And I just want to make a comment here. The same thing is happening with vote share. They're getting the vote share, but they're not getting the seats. So tactical voting is what is coming to the fore under those systems. And I'm beginning to question whether proportional representation needs some caveats added to it. Go ahead, Stats.
Does it ever? We had high hopes, didn't we? Maybe we got a little bit ahead of ourselves thinking Le Pen was going to win when we spoke the other week. But
I desperately wanted her to win.
I know, but within a week of the
Cutter is nodding there.
Yeah.
He knows.
Even that week or two after that great result she had in the first round, they were scheming and conniving in the background, and literally, because I'll try and explain it. What it is normally it's the second round's out of 2, but this time it was different, and it was out with a lot of the seats were. It was 3 people fighting for them. So what happened is when there was 3 people fighting for those seats, either the far left or Macron stood people down, so they won them seats and they took Le Pen out, and it's so crafty. But I mean, do you call that democracy? There's no rule saying you can't do that.
I know.
It stinks, doesn't it?
Go ahead, Cutter.
Do you think in a circumstance like I was going to make the same point as Mark did there, do you think in a sort of circumstance like that all major parties should have to have a candidate in each sort of seat, for once of a better word? They can't sort of do what the French done there and just withdraw their candidates, so it's less votes for the other candidate, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you.
I think that should be the law, if you know what I mean. If you're going to stand in one seat, you should be made to stand in all seats. Your party.
Yeah. It could be seen as election interference in some kind of way. I think when, as you're saying, if we're going to look at a different voting system, we've got to be really, really careful what we're doing here, because if we start letting these small left-wing parties, you could have the Communist Party coming in and doing crazy deals, and it's like, what the? And you know for a fact that everyone will gang up and do whatever they can to stop reform, just like they're doing with Le Pen.
Well, I didn't know of this left-wing coalition in France until literally just a few days ago. I mean, they just literally came together, and that was it. And they're an alliance of different left-wing parties in France who basically planned to put Le Pen out of action. And it fit in with what Macron was after, but literally there's no overall majority in France now. So there's going to be a hung parliament of one sort or another. And you're basically sitting there thinking, my God, they'll do anything to stop common sense coming to the fore. Go ahead, Statsman. And then we're going to go to the Gazelle.
They will literally do anything. So Farage got a hard
wait a
time,
minute. No,
he?
I've got to go on PR. All right, what's the vote here? Got to see where everybody wants. Do they want to hear Gazelle first or Statsman? Oh, no. I'm right wing. Statsman, go ahead.
Well, I'll be dead quick. So Farage, can't even speak tonight. Farage got a lot of grief, didn't he, for just making a statement over Putin and Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yet some of these that have just been elected in France are anti-Ukraine and pro-Putin. But that's fine on this occasion if you want to get rid of the far right. So they're in ultra mode here. They'll do anything. They will literally vote in Putin apologists, literal apologists, like not pretending with Farage. They'll let in communists. He'll give seats away. They will do, and they are absolutely flapping about Le Pen. But to be honest, they're playing down their successes. He's actually done really well in this election. But they are doing their best to put this spin on it. Well, anyway, we'll let Gaz have a word.
Go on, Gazelle.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing in all this is Le Pen is mightier than the sword. Now,
correct.
What it says, there's about 73 differences of proportional representation. So as you say, Mark, yeah, we've got to choose the right one. That's true. And yeah, I mean, I again, where we speak, others follow. It's as simple as that. We lead and others follow. I'm talking about Cheshire Matters here, because I mentioned the other week, as you all know, I've been campaigning for 2 to 3 years now for MVM. Remember, right? Thank you. And, you know, Richard Tice came out the other day. Now, Richard Tice will not go into cooperation with anybody. He won't go into Reclaim. He won't unite with UKIP. He wants to be a single entity. Andy actually mentioned the other day that we've got to be looking at joining something like MVM.
Cheeky.
Hang on a minute. We start putting these. Is he listening, Mr. Matthews? Have you got this over to Richard? By the way, this podcast of ours, because they seem to be coming out with. There's a lot of similarities keep coming out, and Richard Tice mentioned the other day that we've got to start looking at MVM. I've mentioned it in my little video.
I bet you when it comes to the crunch, though, Trev, imagine in the future if we got some kind of proportional representation and we needed to, and Reform had the choice to, I don't know, cooperate with UKIP, etc., to get rid of Labour. Oh, they'd do it, wouldn't they?
Well, there's only...
Yes, I'd say most definitely. Yes, most definitely. Yes.
So we'll see about that one.
There's lots of different versions of PR, but 85 countries utilise party list PR. Yeah. Mixed member PR is used in 7 countries, and the single transferable vote is used in Ireland, Malta, the Australian Senate, and Indian.
Well, that's the AV. I like that one. That's the one I prefer.
Oh, so the single transferable vote?
Yeah, the one where you've got your choices.
Go on, Cutter.
Now, Graham, go on.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that you get a choice of different people on the ballot form. So you can have a first choice and a second choice.
Right, they've done that in Scotland not long ago.
Right, that's right, Graham. That's why I thought you was going to mention it then, actually. Because what happens is you've got a choice of 3 or 4, even 5. All the candidates, you get a choice. So you pick them 1 to 5 or whatever. And then number 1 goes through. The whole alternative of it, Graham.
Okay, don't talk over one another.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. The whole reasoning of it is that you get above that 50%. Because we did a little experiment in town the other week.
Just explain that again for people that are listening. What it means is, on the first round, on a single transferable vote, if you don't get 50% of the vote, then it goes through and it's recounted with the actual second choices. And that's what happens. And then the first person past the 50%, or even on the rounds, then actually goes through. Go ahead, Cutter.
The only thing about that is, Jonathan, nobody really understood what they were doing. They just got handed us ballot paper and says, just write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or just 1 if you want, and nobody understood it. It was explained to the sort of population and what that ballot paper was for.
Okay. Well, over here, I mean, nobody thinks that anybody's going to change anything at the moment, because first past the post gives the 2 parties the lead on everything. Go ahead, Gazelle. And then...
Yeah, we had this little experiment, as I was saying, in town earlier on, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, during the election period. And now this election has just highlighted again exactly what we were doing. It gave you 4 choices, right? So you had 1987, you had 1964, 1939. And it said, when was the last time that a government was actually elected on the majority of the vote, which is above 50%, right? And it gave you 4 dates. And it was something like 1933.
Yeah, I get it.
The last time that a government was elected by the people that wanted it elected. And as you just said, 20% with this one. This one's even worse.
Okay, I'm calling time on that, gentlemen. Right, we actually have had a brilliant conversation. There will be technical things that I have to deal with in the first podcast, but because I'm brilliant, I'll try to make you all sound like gods. Even Graham.
Sound like gods.
I'm absolutely speechless, mate. I don't want very often. I'm getting slagged off. Still good.
I'm gonna get my head kicked in. I'm gonna get my head kicked in when I go into October.
And you get up there. Now, I just got a couple of things to say before we finish off. It's a bit like this. It's a bit like a reference to Rishi Sunak. Remember that Sky comment he come out with. People said to him, "What do you class as poor?" And he said, "Somebody who's not got Sky." Well, it was the same as me actually, because as a child, I mean, our family we were that poor that if it wasn't for me being a boy, I'd have had nothing to play with whatsoever. And now we've got, and also there's a mate of mine, Dave, who was born without eyelids.
He's on about his conkers.
No. This is the true story. He was actually born. He was born without eyelids, Dave. So they circumcised him, and they used the skin. And I mean, the operation, it was brilliant. Went successful. It just left him a bit cockeyed. But he's all right now.
That is terrible.
I'll just leave you with that thought.
You can tell he's no longer in election mode because he wouldn't say anything like that before.
No, I couldn't have said that last week. That should be it. All right now.
Oh gosh! All right, well,
the real world.
That's a really, really funny podcast. I'm sure this is going to become legend. Without a shadow of a doubt. Well, we took a break last week, and we're back. He's gone. He's probably adjusting his eyelids.
There we go. He's done it. It's my makeup. Seriously, I've got some makeup here. No, seriously, that's lip gloss.
Yeah, that's not your lip gloss. That's one of your ladies.
That's lip gloss, that, and it hit me camera. That's why.
All right. Well, okay. Say goodnight, Gazelle.
Good night, everybody, and thank you for listening, as always. And don't forget, vote Reform.
You're no longer in Reform. Are you going back to the Monster Raving Loony?
I've already signed up. I'm back there next week. Done.
He's going to be running for leader soon because Farage said when someone younger and better looking comes along, well, here he is.
There you go.
I do a shout out before the music runs out. My shout out goes out to Trevor Nicholls, who should be at least get an MBE.
Hero.
Good job in your election, mate. Beating the fake cons was a treat as well, isn't it?
Oh, what a
hey, putting them into third place.
Good
well
campaign,
done.
Good election. I reckon that was good all round.
All round.
Thank you.
Reform on the march. And it's all thanks to you, mate. You've laid the foundations for the future.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Cutter, thanks very much for being on the show tonight.
It's an absolute pleasure, Jonathan, and it was good to come on again. And if I can give a wee shout out to the people of Scotland, well done in bringing SNP out.
Yep.
More of it. Protecting you.
Excellent result.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Well done for getting them out. Well done. Well done. Well, okay. Well, there we go, chaps. That's the end of the show, and the music's run out because the Gazelle took up most of the music. He's turning into the Raven as we speak.
I did, actually.
He's growing feathers. He's going in the oubliette, I'm telling you.
I was spitting feathers the other night, but that's another story.